big C, the emperor of maladies. A diagnosis of cancer still evokes much more emotion in the patient than many other diseases. And perhaps it is partly because of this fear that early detection is not done. People don't get themselves checked up. They don't want to hear what they don't want to hear. But not just fear. In the issue of breast cancer particularly, women's health tends to take a back seat. Every single one of us knows somebody who has fought cancer, who is fighting cancer. So in this way, it's a disease which is really on all our minds. And the cure for cancer, it sounds like a holy grail, really, of medical research. And in a country like India, a poor country like India, it's not just about the research, finding treatments, finding ways to deal with it. It's also about finding affordable care, care that the majority of the people in this country can afford. It's not enough for the treatment to be out there. It needs to be accessible. To talk about the current status and the road ahead, we have an absolutely fantastic panel here. Devika, to start with you, to start on a personal note, what was your moment when you discovered that you had cancer?
Anybody, the first time you're told you have a cancer, it's the, the floor slips away from you and you're standing there in shock. And the first question you ask is, why me? You believe also as an Indian woman that cancer really would never touch you. It's something that you've been reading about and hearing about in the foreign press, but you don't really think it happens to you. So it was a terrible shock, disappointment. You don't know where to go from there.
Was yours an early detection?
Yes, it was very early. That's when I realized that caught early, cancer can be cured, and it's been 15 years down the line, and I look upon it as absolutely, something that was behind me now. And that's what motivated me into doing the work that I'm doing today.
Now, you're an educated woman from a relatively privileged background. You managed to get this checkup, but do you see a great reluctance to get this checkup among women in a country where women are shy to go to a tailor to get themselves measured for a blouse?
Absolutely. And it's not only the financial constraint, it's also the misconceptions about cancer. And, you don't want to even know that you have a cancer eventually. So even if you feel and you have a lump and you should get it, you hide it from the family. And then it's too late. It's stage 3, it's stage 4. And when you're forced to go, you realize that, it's not so curable at that point. Basically, the men in our society also need to understand that they need to encourage their women to get checkups done at early stages. They need to understand how important it is for a woman to be aware. And it's their wives, their mothers, their daughters, all of them. So it's not just the women that need cancer awareness. It's as much important as it is to have men aware in this country.
Dr. Shona, if I can bring you in here. You've worked a lot, you've organized a conference, you've organized meetings of breast cancer survivors. Do they come in late? Do women themselves feel that their health takes last priority in too many families?
Educated women coming in late. How long have you had the lump? A year, 2 years. Why did you not come in earlier? Daughter's exam, somebody else getting married, husband needed me more, he was ailing, I needed to take. So there are umpteen excuses for women not to come and get checked when they have a problem. It's kind of an ostrich principle. If I don't know, nothing's going to happen to me. And, we need to really work on this.
Dr. Eric Weiner, is the situation different in the United States? Are more women coming in for early screening and catching breast cancer earlier?
Well, breast cancer is much more in the public eye in the U.S. There is a great deal of screening. Not everyone gets screened, but the majority of the population gets screened. And perhaps what's even more important than that is this awareness of breast cancer, so that when a woman detects an abnormality in her breast, she's more likely to come in for medical attention. And as an outsider here, I'm struck that that is perhaps what's missing here in India, is the fact that people don't recognize that when there is a change, they need to come in.
Dr. Sirohi, what is the incidence of breast cancer in India? How serious is it here?
See, Bangalore is where we are sitting today, is the breast cancer capital of the country. So the incidence is 37 per 100,000 women. And in rural India, we did a study, it's about 2 per 100,000 women. In a place like Mumbai, it will be 22 per 100,000 women. It's still not as high as the West, where it is above 100 or 200 per 100,000 women. So the number of breast cancer patients is huge in India because of the sheer population. Plus, we have a younger age pyramid. So we are seeing more younger patients with breast cancer. In London, when I was there, I would see a 23-year-old maybe every 2 years, 3 years. But here, it's quite common for us to see patients who are very young.
You said Bengaluru has such a high rate. Now, I know it's a question which researchers are still working on, and I'm sure it's not an easy answer, but why?
I think it's a lot of IT companies in Bangalore, and maybe Kiran can add on to it, because there are a lot of women who are working, who are single, they're working and they don't breastfeed. Even when they have children, like I have colleagues who've come back to work after 4 weeks, 5 weeks, because a lot of corporates don't give maternity leave for 6 months. In UK, when I was there, you would get maternity leave for 6 months, and you paid maternity leave. Most corporates will not give you more than 4 weeks or 3 months. Even in US, they don't give more than 4 weeks.
But maybe there's another aspect to it, Bhavna, which we should also not overlook. One is that because we have so many tech companies, there is an annual health checkup, and a part of that is about
early detection.
It is about breast cancer
Early
checkups.
detection and the reporting of it.
The reporting
Yes,
of it.
yes.
So I wouldn't completely sort of say that just because you have young mothers who are not breastfeeding and that's the reason, but I also believe that because we have such a huge working population that goes through annual checkups, in a way you are actually seeing early detection of breast cancer.
But there are other risk factors of breast cancer as well. We are not exercising, we are working late, our food habits. All of these also contribute to breast cancer. Having oral contraceptive pills for a long time or hormone replacement therapy.
You've set up the Women's Cancer Initiative. Do you believe that an NGO like yours, relatively outside the system, do you think you can actually impact research in the way it's being done in this country?
Yes, I'm actually very grateful and glad that we've associated ourselves with one of the topmost hospitals in the country, the Tata Memorial Hospital. Some of the leading doctors from that hospital have taken on research projects, which WCI, which is Women's Cancer Initiative, is funding. And a lot of breakthroughs are coming through. So, as I said, unfortunately, research is not looked upon with enough seriousness in this country. Sometimes when I go to a donor and they ask me to send my balance sheet because they want to send a donation to the foundation, and they look at a large sum and they say, this was transferred to another account. Where did it go? And I said, sir, this went to research. And they said, but we want to support women's treatment. And I said, this research, funding research will probably impact the treatment of thousands of women in the future, which will probably give you breakthroughs specific to Indian women and the conditions that Indian women are living with.